Hello my friends, welcome to another Empire in Flames video log. And today I'm going to be taking a look at the Galactic Civil War system. Now, to sum it up, the Galactic Civil War system was developed for Empire in Flames, and the way it works is that the Empire and the New Republic battle for control of planets. And they do this by invading a planet, and what they have to do is capture every starport on the planet during a set time. So the way you capture a starport is to go in, and if you've ever played Star Wars Galaxies before, it's the same as back in the day when you're busting a Special Forces base. You will go for the terminals, you will slice and hack them and all that good stuff, and then you go from there. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the defending parts, because I want to try and do this in order of how I acquired this footage. One thing I would like to point out though before I go any further, this is footage I've recorded over the past couple of weeks, and the commentary you're hearing now has been done in post, which I don't normally do, so this is kind of new territory for me, so I may be all over the place, I may ramble and I may trip over things, but bear with me, because I normally do this live. But anyway, we're going to start off with the defending part of the system, since I actually have footage from that when we defended. Now I will point out this was taken on Thanksgiving Day, I believe, and the numbers were kind of so-so, although we did actually have quite a good turnout. So for those that don't know, my character called Tyron belongs to the Empire, and I will be fighting alongside fellow Imperials as we look to defend Dathomir from the New Republic. So the way it works is we all get ready, we get buffed up, we get geared up, we get all of our bits and pieces together that we need ready for the coming battle, be it rockets, food, you name it. Now when the Galactic Civil War starts, a message will go out and it will notify everyone what planet the invaders are attacking. So at that point we can either manually travel there, or we can talk to our recruiter, who will teleport us to whatever starport we choose on said planet. The same goes for the attacking side as well. The difference is the defenders will load up inside their base, and the attackers will load up inside a war camp on the outskirts of the starport. And after about 5 minutes, all of the defences and attacking items will load in, such as for the defenders we get turrets, we get a bunch of NPCs that will defend, and so on, and the attackers will get walkers, such as, if it's the Empire, ATSTs or ATATs. I forget what the New Republic gets, but they do have an equivalent. And these walkers are very deadly, they do a ton of damage, they can drop players pretty much instantly. They are really useful for taking out the turrets, so it's a good idea to keep them alive. And if you don't know, on the Empire in Flames server you can actually pilot these walkers and fire upon whoever you like, which is quite nice. So let's get into it. We're defending Dathomir. Dathomir has 2 starports, Trade Outpost and Science Outpost. The Empire loads in at Trade, and we only spot one person at the enemy war camp just on the outskirts. So it stands to reason that the New Republic decided to go for Science Outpost first, since their scouts spotted us at Trade, which is fine. Now, we ended up deciding to stay here at Trade. We sacrificed Science Outpost, and we decided to put all of our eggs in one basket and try to defend Trade. So we made sure we were in position. But when the walkers came in, we took them out as quickly as we could, because the enemy left them undefended, so it was the most obvious thing to do. So we had no walkers to deal with later on, which was good news for us. Now, we wiped out the NPCs and then we retreated back into base. And now we were just stuck here waiting, and it didn't take long before the New Republic turned up. And then the fight starts. Our goal was to keep our turrets alive and do our best to keep the enemy out of the base. Thankfully though, they weren't as aggressive as I was expecting. So we managed to basically hold the line for, I'm going to say, about 40 minutes or longer. However long it took, we managed to hold. We lost one turret in the end from constant fire. The other one managed to survive with about 50% health. The rain never let up on Dathomir, and we did get to see a transition between night and day, which was nice. So it was just a good battle. We were fighting here and there, dodging around trees and all sorts. The terrain is always quite rocky in Dathomir, so it was a good fight. And I mean, we wiped them many a time. I don't think we suffered many casualties. I believe the only casualties we suffered were the ones that were not on voice comms. So it was a very successful defense, which is good, because I believe at the time of this video the Empire was coming off a maybe five losses. We were on a losing streak basically, which wasn't good. So we needed this. So the battle continued, we held, and as we're about 13 minutes away from the end, and it doesn't look like the enemy's going to make any progress just because of how many wounds they had. They had lost all their buffs. We were still 100% pretty much. Everyone had buffs, everyone had their food. We didn't have wounds. We were basically in pristine fighting condition, and a few did try to port in behind us, which we managed to take care of pretty easily because we had our forces split ready to defend it just in case. And then unfortunately the server crashed, so we missed out on our rewards, and it doesn't really count as an official win, even though it said we defended Dathomir, and I think everyone knows that was an Empire victory. But unfortunately server crashed. What can you do? So that was a bit of a bummer, but it's okay, because the following week the Empire goes on the attack. So the following week the Empire decides to invade Dantooine. Now we had a plan roughly worked out for this invasion, but it unfortunately fell apart almost immediately, but it was through no fault of our own. So we arrive on Dantooine just outside a pirate outpost, also known as Aggro Outpost. And here's what happened. We waited at our camp for the GCW to actually start, for the turrets to come up, for our walkers to spawn. And once we had them, we began our assaults. We went after their turrets. We took them down pretty efficiently. Took a bit of damage from the enemy, but we were fine. We did that pretty well, and everything was good. And while we were doing this, we also had teams at military taking out their turrets and mining, although I believe the other two bases had to pull out eventually due to too much of a resistance. So all is going well, and then we decide to push into Aggro base and make our way to the starport. And we find the starport doors are locked, which funnily enough seems like the best way to defend a planet if you ask me. But anyway, the starport doors were locked. We contacted the admins, they sorted it out. Thank you, Halen. But by then, we decided to pull out and make our way back to the military outpost rather than waste time there. So we did that pretty quickly, and we get to military and there's no sign of any New Republic defenders, so I'm assuming they all left for Aggro Outpost or to go mining outpost, I don't know. So we go into military, clear out all the NPCs, clear out the turrets. We go in pretty much unopposed, and we start slicing the base, and then I goof up and fail my slice. I don't know what happened. I must have glanced at it wrong and cut the wrong cable on the security terminal that I was meant to slice. Thankfully you can repair it, it just takes a little bit of time, which is bad really when it tells me exactly what I should be slicing and I still goof it up, so I do apologise everyone. But thankfully we were okay in the end, we got that done. So military outpost was safe. We then go back to aggro outpost. We capture that. Again, no real resistance there. So we're doing good. We are doing good. Now this is where our story really begins. For this invasion at least. We all go to mining outpost. It's the last starport we have to capture. We already had people there fighting, trying to do what they can, picking off the enemy here and there, but we were still at our war camp. Their turrets were up. And this was the make or break part of the invasion. So here's how it begins. And at least this is from my perspective, so if anyone else saw anything differently, there you go. But I arrived just as we have a group starting to flank around, so I move up with them. We get inside the base through one of the other entrances. Now, every starport is different. Mining outpost happens to have about 4 or 5 different entrances. So we go into the one which brings us alongside the cantina. And we basically hold that corner for a little bit, and it's okay. It works for a little bit. We have enemies coming around, we're fighting them, but the problem is there's still quite a large gap between us and the starport. Also, there's turrets that we've got to take out, and then we started to get overwhelmed by the enemy. Not to mention our group was still pretty much split up. So it's around this time we regroup. This is where our teamwork really comes into play here. We regroup and we have a plan of trying to just push slowly forward and do what we can to the turrets and get in the starport. Sounds simple enough, but when there's so many different working parts, it really isn't. Now the way we start this off is by going back to our war camp to heal up. Whatever wounds we had, whoever was missing their buffs, we got everyone sorted out. There was no messing around this time. So we go back out and the enemy actually comes out to meet us, which is good. We have a bit of a skirmish. We have people trying to chase after our lone walker that we had left. So that was also good because it gave us a chance to take them out. And this is when our commandos, and I believe it was Sammy's, discovered that we could fire over the fence. And so we did. We sent rocket salvos, grenades, you name it, everything was being shot over that fence until both turrets were destroyed. The rest of us, we basically kept our commandos alive so they could do that. We picked off people that were chasing our walkers. It was all going very well. Then we went back to our base and we grouped up and we started pushing forward. And we made it just inside the door of mining outpost, and we got just up alongside a building. I don't know if it was the cantina, if it was the cloner, but we were up alongside one of the buildings. It was good for us. It gave us a bit of line of sight to just have a bit of breathing room, get everyone together, and we fought for as long as we could, clearing NPCs and players alike that decided to come fight. And then we pushed in. We went straight to the starport. We managed to get inside and we started hacking it. It was going well, and as you can see in the footage here, the starport room is quite small, and the amount of people that were in that small space is a little claustrophobic, especially when a giant growl falls down and lands just inside, so all you see is this massive monster head. But yeah, we start fighting, it's going well, and then a lag kicks in. We all grind to a halt. All of our attacks are delayed, the slicing of terminals is delayed, everything is delayed. the lag becomes pretty fierce, but we managed to hold. We had some kick-ass doctors doing well, keeping us alive, and we managed to stay alive. But the lag got to the point where the New Republic were finding themselves standing around at 100% health and then suddenly flopping over dead. And we managed to wipe them, and we had the starport pretty much, with the exception of 1 or 2 people coming back in and keeping us aggroed and off the terminals. So something happens then, and we don't quite know what, but we started dying. And I find it odd just because, now I assume it's lag catching up at this point, but when we started dying off, there really wasn't many New Republic in the room compared to the previous fights we just had. It was literally 1 or 2, but our health was dropping as an entire group, so I'm assuming this is all lag playing catch up for the previous battle, which is unfortunate. So the way this goes down is that they beat us down and eventually wipe us. And at this point we had just one more part to do on the doctor terminal. So we are dead, we are beaten, we are wiped, and we are back in our cloner. So at this point we have very little time left. I believe it was less than 10 minutes, so it was rough, you know. We almost had it and then it slips out of our fingers, but thankfully no one gave up. We regrouped, and the plan was to heal up whatever we could, to take whatever food we had in our inventory, and we were just going to do like a last ditch effort to try and run past their defenders, see if we could maybe look out and hit the terminal when we were out of combat for a brief second, but it was looking doubtful. We were all pretty demoralized because lag had just kicked our asses. But then something weird happened, and this was the turning point. This really was the turning point, because for some reason I can't fathom, when I was glancing on the minimap, I saw every single enemy player leave the starport, leave the courtyard. They all left the mining outpost to go into the cantina, essentially unlocking the door, leaving it open and placing a welcome mat for us to go straight in there and ruin their day. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's because they wanted to go in and heal up whatever battle fatigue or, you know, wounds they had, but with only less than 10 minutes to go, in fact at this point it was about 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes left in this battle before they locked down that planet and defeated us, they decided to go and have some R&R. I don't know. It was very odd, but we saw that and we exploited the hell out of it. We ran immediately. We gave up on buffing and healing and whatever. We just all started running straight into the mining outpost, straight into the starport. And if you look at the mini-map of the video you're watching, you'll see that half of the Empire, which are the green dots, are kind of crossing the courtyard still, and the red dots that are pouring out of that location, which is the cantina, all start to kind of congeal in the center of the courtyard. It lagged. It lagged hard. It didn't like it. It was lagging out. A couple of us were inside the starport. We were holding it the best we could. Eventually we got all of our backup here. And this is where it gets a little weird, a little blurry, because we are busy fighting. We're trying to keep aggro off our commandos so they can do the terminal hack. And we've got literally about 2 minutes left. And it doesn't look like we're going to do it, because we just can't get out of aggro. And then all of a sudden, someone mentions that the terminal appears to be done, so the squad leader can go and finish it up. And I believe, as it turned out, it was Travis that managed to get the final commando hack in there when our designated one couldn't, so that was very sneaky. We couldn't do much else apart from fight, and with the lag, it eventually popped up saying we had set the base to blow, which is the equivalent of capturing it, and it would take about 1 minute. So we waited that out with bated breath, and the message finally went out for everyone after what seemed like a laggy eternity. The Empire has captured Dantooine. Discord exploded, we were all so happy and ecstatic. As I said before, we had been on a bit of a losing streak, even though the previous week we did defend Dathomir, but the server crashed at the end, so we lost our reward. But this time, from start to finish, by the book as can be, amazing battles, overcoming locked doors, lag, wipes, you name it. We made it through to the end. We pulled it off in the literal last minute of the invasion, and we captured Dantooine, got our rewards, and yeah, well deserved for the Empire because everyone did amazing that day. And a big thank you to the New Republic for putting up a fight, and I'm looking forward to the battles we are gonna have. It was crazy. It really was crazy, and I've been playing video games and doing PvP for a long time, and this is definitely up there. So I recommend, if you play Star Wars Galaxies emulator on any server, or if you are interested in checking it out, come try out the GCW on the Empire in Flames server. I highly recommend it. Anyway, I've kind of rambled throughout this video. It's very difficult doing post commentary rather than doing it live, I'm finding, but hopefully I kind of explained what went down as well as I could. Thank you all for watching. I hope you'll join us in the future. Until next time.